Linda Crider is a former University of Florida professor for, I think, 24 years. Worked there, and she is former executive director of Bike Florida. She moved to Palatka, Florida after retiring and opened the Bartram Inn Bed and Breakfast. She sold it in 2019, but stays active with the Bartram Committee and other community organizations, and I would highlight very active. For the past 40 years, Linda has been a performer, singer, and songwriter, using music as a way to engage her audiences in her passion for trails and history of the places she loves. Among them, Alaska, where she lived for 18 years, and has wonderful things to share with us about her work with the trails and the places she loves. She's written and recorded over 100 songs, produced 5 CDs, and over the past 20 years with self-authored songs about livable communities, walking, bicycling, historical places and events, bears in Alaska, and songs about William Bartram, and we are in the Bartram Room, and his travels along the St. Johns River. Particularly Palatka was one of his places. And in 2018, Linda wrote the 6-act play Bartram Nights and arranged to have it showcased in the living room of the Bartram Inn. While cycling and kayaking are her main passions, this past October, Linda traveled to Portugal and to walk the El Camino Way along the Atlantic coast. This spiritual path, traveled by many, proved to be a challenging adventure. And so I want to add to this, Christy Sanford, former member and active participant in All Souls here, invited Linda to present to the UU Fellowship in St. Augustine next Sunday, the adventures and the trails and the spiritual path. We were able to take advantage of that invitation to ask her to present here first. And so I am delighted. I am delighted to turn the podium over to Linda.
Thank you, Jack. Yes, I kind of figured this would be a kind audience. Maybe. Can we do some of them off, or?
Like this?
How about that, yeah?
Yeah, that's good, Annie.
Is that okay with the film?
Yeah. I'll have to do it with a little more here, but that'll be fine.
It's illustrated.
People will walk amidst canyon walls to see a sunrise or waterfall. They'll search for their souls each step of the way, walking together day after day. They will walk when they're happy, they'll walk when they're sad. No matter, with their health, they will walk with a friend. They will walk together at the cooling days, and they will walk to witness the gifts of God, or retrace the trails our ancestors trod. It's the joy remembered in baby's first step, the treasured mobility the older we get. Pedestrian safety, a right of our birth,
ensuring our need to touch souls to the earth. They will walk when they're happy, they'll walk when they're sad. No matter if the weather is good or it's bad. Some fast and some slow, for transport, for help. No one is excluded for measures of wealth. It's the joy remembered in baby's first step, the treasured mobility the older we get. Pedestrian safety, a right of our birth, ensuring our need to touch souls to the earth. You can tell I'm a proud grandmother.
Yes.
There we go.
Yes.
And that's right.
Yeah, Jack wanted me to include that. That's the house in Alaska that I built over a period of about 6 years. And, when Christy Sanford asked me to come and talk about the trails as a legacy and a spiritual journey, I had just come back from a 10-day tour of the coast of Portugal. I had planned to walk the El Camino Way along Portugal's coast. However, the weather had other plans for me. But I still stayed with the itinerary, and it became more of a bus and a train tour with GPS guidance by foot to the stations, from the stations to our lodging. That alone made it a journey, but of a different type, but nonetheless a journey. I had a lot of time to think about what my life had been contributing to the greater good. I had spent most of my professional career helping communities to become more walkable and bikeable. In doing so, I became familiar with the Rails to Trails movement and joined early in their formation. Trails became my passion. I saw the many benefits to communities that trails provided, as well as what they could mean to individual people. In a recent Rails to Trails Conservancy newsletter, they reported more than 150 trail networks, those are networks, not individual trails, in development across the country, representing every single state, Washington, D.C., and Puerto Rico. These trails have become American institutions, with thousands spreading across the country, delivering incomparable benefits to hundreds of communities. Few infrastructure investments have the same impact that trails have had for the well-being of people, places, and the planet. There is beauty in the ubiquity of these multi-use trail experiences, in which people can walk, bike, and be active outdoors in free and accessible spaces as varied as the country's landscape. And there is inspiration in what makes them unique. For all that the nation's trails have in common, each represents the unique culture and heritage of the places it calls home. Christy has called Yulie and I, Yulie is the woman that is going to share the podium with me in St. Augustine, and did a bike ride from Alaska to Key West. So we're sharing the podium. Christy has called Yulie and I trailblazers, and I like to be identified that way. While I'm not out literally blazing or cutting trails, I've spent much time negotiating the language of engineers, contractors, politicians, funders, and those who make trails happen. It takes a long time and a lot of persistence, but in the end, there is a legacy to leave for future generations that is worth all the effort. Yulie and I share a love and appreciation for wild Alaska. I lived there 18 summers, building an off-grid house, you see, working for the native village of Eyak, and hiking and biking my way around much of south central Alaska. It was an incredible experience and taught me so much about the spirituality of native cultures and their connection to the natural world. A lot of my trail development work in Florida has been locally in Gainesville, Palatka, and Northeast Florida. I was the founder for many years, executive director for Bike Florida, an organization created to help fund the statewide bicycle and pedestrian safety education program throughout the state. It was a bicycle camping week fundraiser, and we moved it each year around the state. I actually brought it to Palatka in 2005, which is when I found Palatka and fell in love with Palatka and decided to move here. It now primarily does smaller group rides, utilizing many of the trails that have been developed for long-distance cycling. One that would be most interesting to this audience is the St. Johns River to Sea, a 260-mile loop incorporating trails and city sidewalks from St. Augustine to Daytona Beach, Titusville, Deltona, DeLand, and back up along the St. Johns River through Crescent City and Palatka, back to St. Augustine. So it's a complete 260-mile loop. It is about 3/4 completed, but is already being ridden by cyclists from all over the country who come to enjoy our wonderful winters. I have the good fortune to be close enough to the Palatka section to ride it quite often. I would like to leave you with another song that I wrote and have used at various trail ribbon cuttings and other celebrations. It is a tribute to what I call the stewards of promise, who make these trails a legacy for future generations. And we have one of those in our audience, Kevin, who was so instrumental, he and Gay, in helping create the Putnam Blue Ways and Trails citizen support organization that for many years was our huge trail supporting agency or organization. So this is called the Greenways and Blue Ways. Green ways and blue ways, creating more new ways to enjoy rites of passage, pedestrian arts, recreate, recreate, meditate, contemplate, strengthen our spirits, our bodies, our hearts. These linear trails provide so many pleasures, corridors clothed like a goddess in green, weaving a pattern of wilderness treasures, providing the pathway for panther and deer. The plea for protection rings strong in our ears as man's sprawling footprint gobbles the land. Emerald necklaces, shining blue ribbons, this patchwork of nature made by God's hand. So hail to the stewards, the keepers of promise, their vision in tune with a wilderness band, providing the paths for the next generation as these green ways and blue ways traverse the land. These green ways and blue ways made by God's hand. Thank you. And I did bring my hiking poles from Portugal and a book here of pictures of the El Camino Way, if anybody wants to look at them later. Thank you.